Hi, I'm Sam. About 5 years ago, my whole world was turned upside down. More on that later, but let's just say, in what was supposed to be the happiest time in my life, I felt totally lost. You're listening to or watching my show, where we'll be talking with friends in healthcare, wellness, and holistic healing about real self-care. I'm not talking about pedicures and bubble baths. We're talking true acts of care to maintain our physical and mental health so we can truly live fearlessly and fulfilled. Say it with me. Self-care is my job. Here we are, back for another episode of Self-Care is My Job. How's everyone doing? I'm here with a very new but awesome friend. Her name is Allison Jackson of Allison Jackson Fitness. I'm going to introduce her quickly. So she's all about all things health and fitness. She's a personal trainer. Like I said, she's the owner and operator of Allison Jackson Fitness. And she loves to help women, especially busy women, busy moms, working moms, all that, find their happy weight. And whether that's, means staying lean or feeling energy or, feeling energized, all that good stuff. And we're going to talk a little bit about, the solutions and giving some self-care tips in that, by way of that fitness and health, happy weight angle. But we're going to also talk about, not only the solutions, but potentially the obstacles that might get in our way a little bit, because I think we have to be realistic about sometimes we have to navigate a bit to get to that point where we're ready to prioritize our self-care, specifically our physical self-care, which, I think is what people think and talk about the most, but it really is that important, our physical self-care being our exercise and our diet and our lifestyle. So welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we were just chit-chatting, and I might as well jump into what we were talking about. The fact that, we as women are kind of bombarded by this idea of having an ideal weight. So I like the way that you specifically frame it, in all of your messaging about finding your happy weight. Because we, like I said, it's always the ideal weight, but it's not. But it's not like, oh, what's the ideal weight for you? In most cases, what's being placed upon us as women is the ideal weight overall,
Right.
like as if we're all the same.
Right.
And we were just talking about how exercise and fitness and diet, it's more than just about losing weight. There's so much more that goes into it. And so can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like how, when you work with a client, I'm sure that they have their own personal goals, but what specifically are you finding about that when you work with people?
Yeah. So a lot of times, a lot of the clients I work with, their goal is weight loss, right? And I try to get them to just use the scale as one form of measurement, right? We want to look at their measurements overall, right? Measuring your waist, your chest, your hips. Is that going down? But also getting that like biofeedback. So how are you sleeping? How is your energy level? How are you feel? How do you look? Like is your skin clear? Those I think, and especially sleep, I feel like as, busy working moms, constantly going, as we get older, I feel like sleep gets harder and harder. And then the hormones start, right? So it's really kind of looking at the full picture, not just that scale. Cause I know a lot of women get stuck on that number, and that happens to me too. I'll get on the scale and that just wrecks your day. What if you're up a pound or two, down a pound or two? And weight loss isn't linear. You're up and down. And as long as, if your goal is weight loss and it's trending downward, it's fine, but it's like a roller coaster. It's not just constantly dropping.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I mean, that just adds into kind of lends itself to the concept of like acceptance, right? The fact that like you're not every day isn't different, right? Your energy level isn't the same every day. Your, clarity isn't the same every day. It has to do with so much. It has to do a lot of times we think it has to do solely with external factors, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, my job is really stressful this week, or like my kids are driving me nuts, or whatever it is. But and so so if we place all the emphasis on the external, then we're also looking for band-aids from the external to like fix these things. And we forget, like, like we actually have total control of how we
Mhm.
feel. And it has so much to do about what we're putting in our bodies, right?
For sure, for sure. And it's taken me forever, years to realize that really wellness and health is a three-legged stool. It's that mind, body, spirit, right? So you could be eating healthy food, you could be working out, but if you're feeding your mind garbage, if you're not in a good place mentally, if your mindset isn't there, that's not healthy,
Yeah,
right?
totally. I love that you're saying that because, yeah, same thing. Like, it wasn't until, in the last 5 to 7 years for me that it really finally clicked. Not only that it's not about the number on the scale,
Mhm.
um, and we can talk a little bit about like what programs us as women to only focus on that as well. Let's remember to talk about that.
Yes, for
But
sure.
like, also the fact, like also it eventually sank in for me the connection between your physical health and your mental health. And
Mhm.
now it's all I talk about. Like,
Right, right.
literally, like, how can you possibly expect to stay in a relatively positive and or just clear mental state if your body is constantly saying help, help, like I can't sustain,
Mhm.
so, and vice versa. If we're in a negative mind, if we're in a negative mindset due to external factors or what's going on emotionally inside of us, or whether it's hormones or whatever. So if we don't treat that root, the physical is going to get hurt too, because how can we be motivated to exercise when all I want to do is like put on
Right,
TV and lay down? Like,
right. And just like
if
tune everything
emotionally
out.
I'm
Yeah,
not prepared. Yeah.
yeah,
So
for
it's so
sure.
connected. So back, like, so we don't forget to talk about that. Like, I'm just thinking about my own experience right now
Mhm.
as far as yeah, like what programmed me to have but the outlook that I did on the ideal weight, or what it
Mhm.
meant for to be healthy, I would say, right?
Right.
And literally through voices of authority growing up, my mother, my aunts, and a lot of it is that like mother wound a little bit, where it's like
Mhm.
you're literally just on repeat of everything every woman ever said or did for generations before you, right? Like,
For
and if
sure.
you don't make it your active goal to like flip that mindset, it's just on repeat. So for me, it was absolutely the number on the scale, but
Mhm.
also like the way I looked. And I don't have a problem now with like being like, okay, like bringing in the idea of, well, how do I look naked? Like,
Mhm.
like how does that and how does that make me feel? Like, is it give me like, oh, no, look at that, I look good?
Right.
Or is it like, not so much? I'm okay with like bringing that in, but that number on the scale, and like, where there women in my life that would literally say to me, like, put on a couple of pounds, huh?
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
the comments consistently, and me knowing ultimately too when they were coming. Like, I knew when they were coming because I would know within myself.
Right.
So yeah, do you get? I guess my question is like, I'm sure you experience that when you're dealing with. I'm sure you've experienced it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And getting beyond, being able to flip that, because if we don't flip
Mhm.
it, then what's really the goal? Like, how could you be motivated by just that?
Right.
You know,
Right.
you're
So it's
trying to
funny.
please.
So I grew up with a lot of those stories, right? You're big boned or you're healthy,
Yeah.
and I was always bigger than the other girls, right? So all my life I've struggled with my weight, and I didn't include in my bio, but I'm a competitive bodybuilder and I'm a professional bodybuilder, whatever. It was a bucket list item and I got sucked in. And it's very interesting. So every year I lose 20 to 25 pounds to compete, right?
Wow.
And it's taken a lot to, I have my stage weight and then I have my normal weight. And that's a 20, 25 pound difference. And it's hard to go from healthy to super lean, like not sustainable. I mean, it's, my competitive body weight, but it takes a lot to realize, I'm on stage and no one knows what I weigh, but it's just that how you look and how you feel.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's, that isn't a sustainable weight, but it is interesting as you transition and you reverse diet and you gain your weight back, how you feel at those different stages. Like,
Yes.
like super duper lean. I'm freezing all the time. I can't sleep. Like, it's not healthy. When I get to my happy weight, I am so confident. I feel good. I look good. And then I go a little bit over my happy weight, which is really my healthy. that's my healthy spot. It's where I lift the heaviest, I sleep the best, I'm in a great
Mm,
mood. So it's interesting that you
yeah.
can't get caught up with that number, because I do the same thing. That happy weight, you might not feel 100%.
Right. Right. What you think is your happy weight. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And then also like stages of life, like how,
Oh,
those thresholds probably change,
totally.
especially as women, as we evolve
Hmm.
through all
Yes.
of these stages, right?
Yes.
Craziness.
Yes, like before kids, during kids, after kids, and now, we're coming, I'll share, I'm 47, we're getting to the perimenopause, we're slowly getting into menopause, and everything's changing again, and as women with hormones and everything, it's hard. It's hard to, you know, be mindful and check in with yourself and make sure that you feel good.
Yeah. It's crazy that, I'm learning, which is part of why I'm doing this. So this is great. This is like, I'm definitely absorbing right now in the moment. But and exactly what you just said, I feel like I'm probably on like right now for me, I'm on like the lower threshold that I've been in a while weight wise. The only reason for well, not maybe not the only reason because I've been doing a few things, but
Mhm.
one of the biggest reasons is that I took a month off of alcohol and dropped 5 pounds, even up to seven, depending on the day,
Right.
up to 7 pounds
Wow.
like that. And for 5'0", seven
Mhm.
pounds is actually a
That's
lot.
a
And
lot.
you feel it like in your body. I mean, you could see it too, I think, but
Mhm.
it's mostly how I feel. So it's funny because like I was like halfway there or whatever, and I'm thinking this is one of the things that I wanted to see if it would happen, and of
Mhm.
course, but again, that number, and yes, now I actually think I lost too much. I totally I'm like, it's as soon as you said that I was like, wow, because I'm literally freezing right now.
Mhm.
Exactly what you just said. I'm like all day. And it's so true. So there's so many things that it hit on for me there. Those little things that make so yeah, it's like a sign of maybe that's not
Mhm.
your happy weight. Like maybe, and I am, I've been a little tired, and it's yeah, I haven't been. I think I won't even throw out numbers, but I haven't been the weight that I am right now
Mhm.
in years. But what also I noticed immediately, so it's like that detoxing, which maybe we could talk about for like a moment, right?
Yeah.
Took a month off alcohol, and that my belly bloat. So everybody, so many women, right, want to lose the belly, right?
Yeah. First thing.
And especially after you have kids or whatever. And I kind of knew, but didn't know quite to what degree the alcohol was contributing to my bloat. Holy crap. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, it's gone. Like it's gone. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah. It's an unbelievable. And so when I compete, I don't drink at all. And you sleep better, you're not bloated, you're not, puffy. Um, a lot of times it makes you hungrier. It's empty calories.
It's empty
There's, I
calories.
mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I love a good glass of red wine, but at the end of the day, like alcohol isn't really any kind of added benefit health wise.
I know. So, and you're aware that at one point in a prior life, I was a wine representative for a company, which and a company that I still love and am a consumer of. But there's always like this little detachment from it here and there because I'm always like now I don't really view it as like self-care anymore. If you're having like not that I ever really like marketed it in that way, but a lot
Yeah.
of people
Yeah.
do, right? So, but again, it's that idea, it comes right back to that idea of sort of getting right with yourself mentally and emotionally so that you don't reach for these band-aids, these self-care moments that are really, like for example, like I had a good friend of mine that posted the other day. She's got 3 kids. She lives down south, and she dropped like all 3 kids off, whatever. And she said, "Oh, I'm gonna go," and she drove through Chick-fil-A, and she was having like her self-care moment in the car with her Chick-fil-A. And I was like, baby girl, that's emotional eating.
Like, that's not self-care. That's emotionally, not to sound like an asshole,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm just giving an
Yeah.
example. And don't get me wrong. Don't even think for a second that I won't go through McDonald's and get a coffee and a couple of hash browns. 100% I will do it, but I ain't calling it self-care. I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's a treat yourself moment, like for
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
So that's fine. And even with the wine, that's fine too. We need to treat ourselves, but you gotta, like that's where that mental wellness comes in, so that you're not making these, uninformed decisions that are,
Yeah.
contributing to your overall, the decline in your overall health.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, self-care is really just taking time out of your day. It doesn't have to be the Chick-fil-A drive-through, right? It could be a walk outside. It could be just sitting and just meditating, just checking in with yourself. What do you need right now? How do you feel? I feel like we don't do that a lot. We're just constantly go, 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 try to serve others, but you can't fill up other people's cups if yours is empty.
100%. And you know that I preach constantly about that moment, even if it's just like, okay, like screw the Chick-fil-A. Actually, you could have that in there, but maybe the self-care is this, that you created a moment for yourself.
Yeah.
That's the better part of it, right? That's what
Yes.
you're going to need, because that, you're absolutely right. All we do is create, produce, react all day
Mhm.
long. You never make time to just be a human being instead of a human doing. Like, you just, yeah, and that's cultural, right? Like, we're just in that
Totally.
society that really only rewards producing.
Yes. Yes. And as moms, it's always serving, what do the kids need? Are they taken care of? And that mommy guilt, right? You feel guilty when you take a moment for yourself that you might need.
Yeah. So that leads us right into something else I think we mentioned we'd talk about, which is like, what are those obstacles? It's not,
Mhm.
it's addressing the fact that it's not always so easy to prioritize us, make time for the exercise, make time to prepare healthy meals. And sometimes you're just literally like on autopilot, and you're not
Mhm.
actually making any of those appropriate adjustments. Um, and being a mom specifically is massive for that. Not only do you combat the guilt, because of course a mother is supposed to sacrifice herself for her children. And
Mhm.
that is that mother wound that I mentioned. You're just all those patterns and all those thought processes that were taught to your grandmother and your mother, they're just still in our head. And we can talk all about, we can point fingers at society and at culture and the media for perpetuating, right? Not as productive to do that.
Yeah.
What we got to do is start turning those patterns off and realizing, but sometimes even doing that is hard, like
Mhm.
it's a hiccup you have to go through. So I'm sure you experience that when you're working with people. Are there any tips that you give people as far as like, how do you yeah, like mentally feel worthy of
Mhm.
putting yourself first when you're a busy mom and you feel like you have that guilt?
hmm So I always tell people, just like you plan your meetings, just like you plan when you're taking your kids to the doctor, you have to plan time for yourself, whether it's working out, meditating, just taking time to check in with yourself. Because you either plan to fail or you fail to plan. It's one or the other. That goes for your workouts, for meal prepping, for eating healthy. Um, and again, it's going to reduce the stress overall. Because if you're constantly on the go and you're not making time for yourself, you're like goes back to your whole self-worth thing. You need to know that you are a priority, because what kind of mom or businesswoman or career woman are you going to be if you're burnt out, if you're burning the candles at both ends? So
Yeah.
I typically tell my clients, like, when's your meal prep day, plot out your, schedule it like an appointment, like anything else. It's an appointment with yourself. So that's what I try to tell people to do. It's not always easy. I mean, when stuff, comes flying in, but at least go in and give it your all to try to plan that out.
Right. Like, I just did it because I feel like that that is another thing that, like, life, when you're in different seasons of life, regardless of
Mhm.
what stage of womanhood we're in, which will affect too, but like just seasons of life. COVID season, it's a great season. We're having
Yeah.
a great time.
Oh,
So, you know what I mean? So, pertaining to the things that are going on in your life, that effort to plan might, or your mode of planning and scheduling might change. Just noticing that. I just had it because my daughter went fully virtual school again. So it was like, okay, well, now I have to look at everything. Also, like due to some, stressors that were going on the last few weeks, just like family stuff and everything. And I needed, so stressors come in, right? And then they throw you right off whatever you were doing. So, so I figure I would ask about that too, because it's kind of like, I've noticed that you just gotta like, you can't beat yourself up when you get thrown off. You just gotta start again.
Yeah.
Just,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And as a recovering type A perfectionist, it's about letting stuff go. Like, you know what, the house is going to be a mess. They might just have breakfast for dinner, which is what we did tonight. And it doesn't make you a bad mom or a bad person, right?
Exactly. So your house might not be perfect. They might have had, you might have ordered a pizza or whatever. You didn't cook a home cooked, whatever. And you got that little asshole voice in the back of your head telling you that you're a shit mom because of that.
Right.
Meanwhile, your kids are happy as a pig in shit because they got pizza for dinner. Their toys are just right there, or whatever they were already playing with or messing with 5 minutes ago, or the day before, are still right there for them. Right.
Yeah.
Or you haven't, or we can ask them to clean up. That's another part of it.
Yeah.
So, but so in other words, the perfectionism. Oh, yeah. I've been talking a lot. I just did a live in my Selfcare with Sam group today. That was like a 25-minute live and I think that was actually good for the topic of perfectionism because it's
true.
So like annoying.
Totally.
But yeah, so that's the thing, is that all of a sudden when you might not even realize that's what you're doing to yourself. But hey, like if you get thrown off your schedule, or just reboot, right? And don't, beat yourself up and stuff. But I've also noticed too, like I said, well, maybe your system isn't working. Maybe you need more support. So I always, like when I'm working with people, and even with my yoga clients, it's like, okay, well, I know that you only, for example, are available these times. Let's make it work for both of us. But like, maybe you do need to ask your partner or your, whether it's your partner or your husband or a family member or somebody for support with the children or support with whatever other responsibilities that you need to do so that you can fit this in. And I think that it's that guilt too. Like we're not supposed to ask for help.
Yeah, that whole superwoman syndrome, right? You're supposed to do it all with a smile and look beautiful.
Because we were told we can, like we can do it all. We can have it all. Yeah. And I always talk about this, like the fact that like, that conversation was had, and that's great. But nobody pulled our husbands over to the side and said, by the way, now that she could have it all, you gotta step in too, kind of thing. And I'm not knocking all husbands, but let's be realistic. Who's taking on the majority of the caretaking of the household and the children? It's generally the mother. Meanwhile, we're over here working, taking care of the house, doing everything. And at the same time, trying not only to keep ourselves healthy, but keep everybody else healthy, especially now.
Right.
This period of time.
Right.
It's all about maintaining your physical and mental health.
Yeah. And especially now during COVID, when I feel like people's stress levels, we've had it between COVID, the politics, everything. It's like control what you can and let go of the rest. Control what's happening in your house, what's happening in your brain, and let go of everything else, because you can't change it or control it.
Right. Control your controllables. Like that's it. Yeah. And just accept that, in yoga, we refer to it as non-attachment. It's like detach yourself from the idea that you are in control of everything, because it's like, that's all that is creating resistance to what's happening now. Regardless whether you like it or not, it's happening.
Right.
Be resistant to it. And if you think about the idea, the feeling of resistance in your body, right? Does it feel good? Doesn't feel good.
No.
You can't walk around like that. You can't walk around like that.
No.
Because it's just going to, like I said, your physical and mental health will pay for it.
Yeah.
Again, easier said than done.
Of course. Of course.
So what are your favorite exercises and, like diet tips and tricks that you like to delve out
Yes.
with people?
Absolutely. So, number one for exercise is to make sure that you're doing some kind of weight training, even if it's just body weight. It is like the fountain of youth. You lose muscle as you age. It's, you don't tone, you build muscle, and you want muscle because muscle at rest burns calories, fat does not. So, and it's really super hard for women to gain muscle. I mean, unless you're on steroids, which I don't think anybody is. So, push-ups, squats, you don't need to go to the gym and lift super heavy. If you do, that's great. But there's plenty of stuff you could do at home. And then diet-wise, most women don't eat enough calories and don't eat enough protein. Everyone wants to starve themselves to lose weight. And it's so counterintuitive because you need to feed your body it's like a fire, right? You add wood to the fire to get that fire burning. Well, the fire is your metabolism. So you need to eat to keep your metabolism going. And having protein in each meal and each snack will keep you full. It helps build muscle. And we don't get enough of it. And like I said, we lose muscle as we age. So those are my tips. And always keep healthy snacks on hand and don't keep trigger foods in the house. So if there's things that you eat out of control, like you can't stop, whether it's potato chips or chocolate, don't keep it in the house, especially if you're stuck at home.
Yeah, exactly.
You're setting yourself up for failure, right?
Yeah, it is hard to. I was just talking about this with somebody when you have kids, because like I like to have treats for them. I like to have dessert for them in the house for when they're super good. I totally bribe my kids. I have no shame about it. Like the first
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing in the mom handbook that says that's wrong.
When they are not behaving, the first thing that comes off the table is dessert.
There you go.
It's just the way it works in our house. But so yeah, it is. It's here in most. Right now they're working on their Halloween candy, and because there's so much, and it's like, so I don't have to worry about buying anything. But like for me, I don't have as much as a sweet of a sweet tooth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more salty. Like I'm gonna go make myself, which is better, I guess, in the evening if I really need like something. I'll make myself some like popcorn or something like that. But my husband has the worst sweet tooth, and it's so funny. Like I'll come downstairs and he's like washing the dishes, and there's like 4 packs of M&Ms in the like 4 wrappers, and I'm like, how do you even like? But it's, I guess my point, like it's an example of how we all have our like weaknesses, and we all have our trigger foods, right? Like if there were ready-made French fries, that would be like my thing that I couldn't resist. Good thing if you want a good French fry, you actually have to make it.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a little effort.
Throw it in the oven. And I'm not doing all that. But if it's right there, that candy is tricky in that way because it's right there. Yeah. But yeah, like I guess when it comes to like healthy like replacements, like do you ever like make any suggestions for that?
Yeah. So if you've ever had the cocoa dusted almonds, those are amazing if for anyone with a sweet tooth. Protein bars have come a really long way. And so Built Bar makes a coconut almond bar that tastes like a candy bar. It's like an Almond Joy. So it's amazing.
And the sugar content on those is not like extreme?
It's not bad at all.
Okay, good. I'm always like,
yeah. Yeah. And then
the difference, I might as well have an M&M.
Might as well have the candy bar. And then I love like, Greek yogurt, mixing like cocoa powder in it and some stevia, like making your own healthy sweet treats, right? Without having to, break out the chocolate bar or the M&Ms. And then the other thing I do is, so like we bought Halloween candy. I try to buy the candy that I hate that my family loves.
Yes.
So
we got lucky though, because my daughter doesn't because that I'll eat. My daughter doesn't like Reese's.
What?
We're like, crap. Like, it's just sitting there. Who doesn't like Reese's?
Yeah.
But admittedly, and it's like kind of another good point. Like, we try. And I'll give my husband tons of credit for that because he likes to make things from scratch. Like he makes fresh bread for us every week. He makes fresh cashew butter, like things like that, right? And he'll put like cashew butter and bananas on on a piece of bread out of the oven. Yum. So we like to make things, and we don't eat a lot of processed food.
Yeah.
And that's been going on for a while. So it's funny because when my kids like that, forget it. She'll have chocolate and stuff like that, but she won't eat candy.
Interesting.
You know, like sugary candy. Like if she tastes something like that, she's always like, ooh, like it's because it's so sweet. We all have, I think so let me know if this is a thing. Like we would have, if we don't eat a lot of sugar or stuff like that, you have like a lower threshold for that flavor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because suddenly everything tastes super sweet. Right.
Well, now I'm talking to you like you're like some kind of, you know, like taste bud expert or something.
I could
But
be.
anyway, like yeah, your tolerance would change, right?
Totally. And when you do eat less processed foods, you'll find that your taste buds, like things taste different. Like you taste, like, I feel like, so when I'm in competition prep, I do a lot of unprocessed, a lot of chicken, sweet potato, all that. And I just feel like you can taste the food more. Like, when it's not processed, I feel like there's a lot of preservatives and stuff going on that when you have like just whole unprocessed foods that
Yeah.
you do, you
And
feel
I
like you
can
taste
taste
it.
100%. I can taste chemicals in food. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like if there's something, I mean, I think the most recent example, like I almost barked because I went through, just asked for a coffee. I think I drove through for a snack, Burger King for the first time in like God knows how long. And I drove through for a snack for the kids because it was like a crunch situation. And sometimes as a mom, you just want to quiet the noise. And you're like,
Yes.
ooh, look, a drive-through. Like,
I know what I can do to shut you up.
so anyway, you want to fill some French fries? Because I mean, you know, there are worse things in the world than French fries.
Yeah.
So oh yeah, so I just got a coffee and they gave me like a vanilla, you know, like a flavored or a hazelnut or something, and I was like, all right, this will be fine. And I took a sip and I was like, oh, people drink this. And again, not to be an asshole, if you love hazelnut coffee, you know, and there are different, you know, not all flavor additives are created equal. Some of them are not necessarily as processed and as heavy and as artificial, right? But I think being cognizant of those things is really important.
Yeah, for sure. Because you can definitely taste when it's like a roasted flavored coffee versus adding those syrups and other stuff to it. I feel like makes difference.
I'm getting on a tangent, but anyway, so yeah, this is it's just, you know, it's all about what's going in your body, I guess, is my point. And realizing like, you know, it's going to have an effect, like everything that goes into. But you know, and we were talking about emotions too, like anything that's inside of you, and it really is connects to, you know, like sort of the yoga philosophy too, because we're talking about the concept of, you know, uniting body, mind, and soul, your body, mind, and spirit. So like realizing that one is completely and wholly connected to the other, and you can't detach. You can't say, well, okay, you know, like I don't need to work out today because I feel really good mentally, or vice versa, or whatever, because one will affect the other. But yeah, I'm just trying to think of anything that I've forgotten. By the way, I love the fact that you're a figure competition competitor and winner. It's
Thanks.
so cool. I mean,
so fun.
One of these days, I got the guns.
There
but
you go. You got the guns.
They're just from. That's just from holding like a 25-pound baby. It's just called mummy guns. I don't know if you've heard of them, but that's all that's from, really, and maybe a little chaturanga, and that's
there
it.
you go.
But yeah, no, this has been a really good conversation. I just feel like, you know, it's nice to also before I let you go, it's nice to have a conversation not only with somebody who gets it and knows, like, you know, or who has the knowledge, but also is living the concept currently of being a busy mother. You know, the idea that it isn't always so simple. But look, there are people who have you know, it's really just about actively deciding to prioritize your self-care, because it's a little bit of a if this resonates with you, please chime in. So to me, it's a little bit of a chicken and an egg situation, because we can talk about, oh, well, first I have to get over this hump of feeling worthy before I can start prioritizing myself. But sometimes it's actually the opposite, where you need to just, and especially if you don't know where to start, try something, do something, because here's the thing, not only are you going to feel the difference right away, because in my opinion, a little goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you think, oh, but
Yes.
it's like this all or nothing mentality, and you feel like, oh, but I have to commit, and I don't know if I can because my schedule and my kids and everything. A little goes a long way, first of
For
all.
sure.
And then you also have the concept of, you are literally, once you start to prioritize your self-care, you're sending a message to your brain by doing it that you are worthy of doing, that you are worthy of it, right? I mean, does that
Yeah.
make
Oh
sense?
my God. I totally agree. And then I do agree with the chicken and the egg thing. And that all you have to do is a couple minutes. Like it could literally be like 2 minutes out of your day to just sit and just quiet everything, shut your phone off, go outside for a walk, or just sit and just close your eyes and just clear your head.
Yeah.
That is it. So I totally agree with you with that.
Makes a world of difference. It really
Oh,
does.
totally.
I'm also a recovering perfectionist, and I used to, like not only did I used to spend time, lots of precious time that I could have been devoting to actual, to real action, making lists and like the planning of everything and the meticulous planning of every and scheduling of everything, but I also used to wait for that perfect block, that perfect hour block of time.
Yeah.
And it never came, obviously. Like you can't. So, and
No.
you can look at that like, oh, well, like, I didn't get I didn't get that perfect 30 minutes to work out today. So I didn't even try. Well, even if I started, like, first of all, I created this little spot for myself. This is my yoga spot, right? But this is where I
Love.
work out too.
Yeah.
And so once I did that, it was like, I don't care. Who cares if you meant it to be a 30-minute workout, but your kids came in and bombarded you 15 minutes in. That 15 minutes that you got counted for something.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And no
And
one's keeping a tally. It's just you.
right, exactly. That's the other thing too. That's that perfectionist brain where we're like in competition with our own selves pretty much. It's ridiculous, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I should say too, again, like that's why I think that I'm so impressed with like you being a competitor, because I'm so not. Like it's just not in my nature. So I actually kind of like recoil if there's any kind of like competition. I'm like, I'm not into it. Like I don't even like board games. Like I'm like, it depends. Like if it's the type of shit that I could just be like, whatever. But
Yeah.
if the minute that somebody comes in and wants to actually, like, if there's any competitive nature, I'm always like, no.
I
Um,
love it. I love it.
but probably because of that, right? Because it's like too
Mm.
much for my perfectionist brain. But anyway, so yeah, I think that that's like just a big point of like, don't wait, and like, the self-worth will come if you take that first or second step and just make it
Yes.
happen. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. And it'll just help you be at your best for everybody, especially
Seriously,
yourself.
it's so important. You have to fill your own cup. It's like, um, we hear that a million times over, right? How can you
Mm-hmm.
pour from an empty cup? I mean, it's so 100% true, but that's like that chicken or the egg. It's like you'll feel it. Like once you put yourself into something, like
Yeah.
I know, for example, when I have, so, not talking about exercise, although I do feel immediately better after a workout,
Yeah.
especially, and that wasn't always that way, by the way.
Mm.
Like it wasn't, I used to feel tired, but I don't think I was doing the right things, and I didn't have like my schedule and everything
Mm.
like that. And also it was probably about what I was putting in my body at that time, you know what I
That
mean?
could be
Like,
too. Yeah.
exhausted, like I'm not really eating right or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but now I'll have that that immediate feel, that immediate burst of energy and sort of just this lightness and de-stress from a workout. But like, so that is that form of self-care. And then like incorporating other forms of self-care, like a night away from my kids, like
Mm-hmm.
leaving the
Yeah.
house. So, and when I come back, it's like I'm a new mom.
Yeah.
I'm much less irritable. My stress level has decreased. My patience has increased,
Mm-hmm.
and I see it right away. So it's kind of like I feel like you need to do it and then see that,
Yeah.
and in order for it to sink in, like, oh no, I need to do more of that.
Yes. Yeah.
So if we're holding ourselves back, then we're also holding ourselves back from getting that message, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to ask you before you go, I let you go, any final thoughts that you would, send to whoever's watching? And then of course, also let us know about anything cool you have going on and where we can find you.
Yes, absolutely. So what I would say is to definitely, if you have not tried meditation or mindfulness, to just start, whether it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, build it into your day, whether it's first thing in the morning or before you go to bed. I highly recommend that to all my clients. Again, that three-legged wellness stool, mind, body, spirit. And anybody who wants to connect with me, you could go to AllisonJacksonFitness.com. I'm also on Instagram at Allison Jackson Fitness. Facebook, LinkedIn, all those fun spots. And yeah, I'm super excited for, COVID to be over, for 2021 to be here, and for everyone to get back out again, right?
Yeah, like we can move on past 22.
Yeah.
It had a good ring to it. But not so much into delivery.
Yeah, for sure.
And we gotta have this humor, right? We just gotta keep it light. Again, life isn't perfect. We're not perfect.
Nope.
Let it go.
Let it go. Frozen style.
I love it. The moms singing the freaking
Yeah.
Frozen music. Love it. All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Hopefully we can have you back again at some point in time, because this is all about self-care, and if we don't take care of our bodies and then hopefully have that translate to our mental wellness as well, then I don't know, we got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, but thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for joining me. Have a good
Thanks
night.
for listening or watching. Hopefully you will follow or subscribe. I hope to see you back here. And if you want to find me on Instagram, it's the_aligned_heart or alignedheart.net.